Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Thursday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenora Shipura. In the news tonight, Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia CEO Emilia Ngihikembwa says the regulator is looking at increased sources of revenue as one of the outcomes of its integrated strategic business plan, which was launched this morning. Over 60% of the regulator's revenue is currently tied in litigation, a matter that is of concern to Crown, Ngihikembwa said.
We are looking at increased sources of revenue. This remains a key strategic focus for us, especially towards attaining financial sufficiency. And this is especially because our regulatory framework was designed in such a way that we do not receive any money from Treasury on an annual basis. So we rely on the levies and the license fees that we generate through the regulatory work that we do. And as I said earlier, 60% of that has been caught up in litigation for a while. So this is why we need to look at ways not only to improve financial sustainability, but also to utilize the funds that we have in a manner that enables us to continue defraying the costs that are associated with the implementation of this particular strategic plan.
Prime Minister Sarah Kukongwela Amadila speaks at the United Nations Water Conference in New York. The conference, formerly known as the 2023 Conference for the Midterm Comprehensive Review of Implementation of the UN Decade for Action on Water for Sustainable Development 2018 to 2028, is expected to adopt the Water Action Agenda. Let's take a look.
At continental level, Namibia welcomes and supports the Continental Africa Water Investment Program adopted by the Africa Union Commission and its Ministerial Council on Water, with the aim to leverage $30 billion annually in climate-resilient water investment for Africa by 2030. This will accelerate investment into climate resilience at regional, transboundary, and national water governance for infrastructure for socio-economic development of the continent. At global level, Namibia welcomes the Special Trust Fund under the Global Environment Facility, which was established last year at COP15 on biodiversity in Montreal, Canada, to support the implementation of the Global Biodiversity Framework. The fund, without a doubt, will serve to complement existing support and scale up financing to ensure the timely implementation of the GBF through adequate, predictable, and timely flows of funds. Your Excellencies, the link between access to sanitation for all and human dignity remains a priority for the Namibian government. For this reason, we have identified the need to improve universal access to sanitation and hygiene in informal urban settlements and rural communities. I am therefore pleased to confirm that the government of Namibia has recently adopted the revised National Sanitation and Hygiene Strategy for 2022 to 2027 to give a strategic direction for a coordinated approach to the implementation of sanitation and hygiene activities. Further, climate change remains one of the biggest emergencies threatening the future of both planet and people, with devastating impacts of more frequent and severe droughts, floods, bushfires, sea level rise, desertification, land and soil degradation, heat waves, food and water insecurity, and many more existential challenges. Our region has, over the last few days, experienced the devastating effects of Cyclone Freddy, and we convey our condolences to the governments of Malawi, Madagascar, and Mozambique, who have borne the brunt of this destructive calamity. In conclusion, on behalf of His Excellency the President and the government of Namibia, I wish to express our gratitude to our international development partners for all the support in the area of clean water supply and safe sanitation. Our government will continue to support and implement programs that will propel us to achieve access to water and sanitation by 100% of the Namibian population for social and economic development activities. I trust that over the next 3 days, we will engage in constructive dialogues and deliberations that will yield tangible outcomes for the people of the world who look to this august assembly with hope for a prosperous future. I thank you.
I thank
The Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress of Namibia, Mahongora Kavihiha, has accused the Namibian government of fostering a modern-day police dictatorship. He criticized the alleged police violence against protesters on Independence Weekend and has stated his support for all young activists fighting for social justice, including NEFF activist Michael Amushelelo.
Dissent, where the dictators does not allow any dissent and ensure that everyone agrees with them, however, outlashing their ideas. They undermine all form of dissent, especially political, and curb popular freedom of expressions by individuals. Now, the dissent is exactly the behavior of the police, what they are doing, and they are acting. We should never misquote this, where we isolate the police from the entire state machinery. Someone is doing that. The true sign of modern police dictatorship is anti-democracy. They, the dictatorships, gradually don't believe in democracy, even although they publicly proclaim to sound as they believe in democracy. They effectively dismantle parliamentary and constitutional system to control the police and judiciary. And that anti-democracy tendency is the one that we are observing now with the behavior of the police. The third is to distance themselves from reality. They require the people to hero worship them and have their own personality cult. They surround themselves with a psychopath who constantly laud them while blaming others for everything that goes wrong in their own administrations. We have observed over decades now that the issues which the societies are faced with, including unemployment, bad education system, and also poor performance of economy, are being shifted. First it was colonialism, now is COVID. And that is what we call the dictators are distancing themselves from the reality.
Mike Dupreez, the Rundu service station owner who was filmed whipping his employees in what he regarded as a game, was fined $500 Namibian after one of his former employees opened a case of assault against him. This was confirmed by Dupreez's lawyer, Richard Metcalf, who yesterday told Namibian Sun that one of the employees who was filmed in the videos that went viral opened a case of assault against his client, to which he paid a fine of $500 Namibian. The incident that happened early this month saw various stakeholders, including political parties and labor unions, condemning what was depicted in the videos, where Dupreez was seen whipping his employees on their buttocks. Rumors had it that the employees were being whipped in exchange for loans. However, Dupreez and the workers came out to say that it was all a game. Following the involvement of other stakeholders, Dupreez was forced to publicly apologize. A day later, the nation was informed that Dupreez and the workers would serve a 2-week suspension, which lapsed on the 18th of March. They have since returned to work, with exception of one of the employees who opted to open a case against Dupreez. The first court appearance of NEFF commissioner and activist Michael Amushelelo, NEFF's Dibulukeni Nuyoma, and Member of Parliament Ina Hengari took place today at 3 p.m. at the Cathedral Magistrate Court. The trio will be remanded in custody until the 29th of March for further investigation, according to the magistrate Linus Samusala. Amushelelo's lawyer Samuel Kadila of Kadila Amomo Legal Practitioners confirmed that the accused will apply for bail as soon as tomorrow. Charges include contravening of the Public Gathering Act 23 of 1989, malicious damage to properties, inciting public violence, and violation of the court of order / contempt of court. This was after the activists hosted a mass strike against high unemployment rates in Namibia on Tuesday. In our story of the day, we take a look at the SADC Executive Secretary speaking about the Southern Africa Liberation Day.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact NMH1 at synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
Let's take a look at the statement by Executive Secretary of SADC, His Excellency Elias Mahosi, in commemoration of the In English Day.
Fellow SADC citizens, the freedom that the Southern African region is enjoying today did not come on a silver platter. It was earned by great sacrifice of the brave men and women who shed blood for this freedom. For this reason, the Southern African Development Community SADC set aside the 23rd March of every year as the Southern Africa Liberation Day to remember the sacrifices made by these brave men and women in the liberation struggle. When the mighty armed forces of the apartheid regime in South Africa were defeated at one of the conventional battles at Quito Valley in southern Angola on the 23rd March 1988. That in itself marked a decisive end of many years of exploitation, oppression, degradation, untold suffering, and humiliation of the Southern African people. As a result of this historic defeat, Namibia and South Africa became the last countries in the African continent to be liberated from colonialism and apartheid regime in 1990 and 1994, respectively. Fellow SADC citizens, the history of the liberation struggle in Southern Africa is comprehensively documented in the Hashim Bita publication titled Southern Africa Liberation Struggles, which has been produced in the SADC official languages of English, French, and Portuguese, and soon the books will be made available in Kiswahili. The 9 volumes of this comprehensive record of liberation struggle are designed to assist the present and future generations to remember the sacrifice made by millions of their forefathers and mothers in the struggle in pursuit of our freedom. I wish to encourage researchers, scholars, and political leaders, especially the youth, not only to study the struggle literature, but to also find inspiration from the stories in the publication for the betterment of the region and to ensure the preservation of our freedoms and economic development. In recognition of the immeasurable role played by the SADC founders, the 40th SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government of August 2020 endorsed the mechanism in honor of the SADC founders. As part of the implementation of the mechanism, SADC awarded scholarships to 5 students doing master's and PhD studies, and 3 winners of the 2022 SADC Tertiary Institution Essay Competition. The objective of these scholarships and essay competition is to promote research on the role and contribution of the SADC founders to regional integration and development agenda. The research studies being undertaken by the recipients of these scholarships contribute to the realization of the vision and aspirations of the SADC founders, that of a peaceful and prosperous region. Fellow citizens, as we commemorate the 2023 Southern Africa Liberation Day, I wish to urge member states to continue to recognize the great contribution and huge sacrifice made by the founders of SADC and their nations. Some of the ways identified as part of the mechanism in honor of the SADC founders is to speed up the inclusion of Southern Africa liberation history in the school curriculum for the benefit of the young and future generations. We commend countries that have already included the liberation history in their school curriculum. More importantly, the founders paved the way for peace, stability, and a shared vision of prosperity for all the people of the SADC region. All of us must work towards the advancement of economic well-being and standards of living of our people, freedom and social justice, and peace and security, because that is the SADC that the founders envisioned, and that, I believe, is the SADC we all want. Fellow SADC citizens, I wish to commend the heads of state and government for committing to the ideals and values that inspired the SADC forefathers to fight for liberation and establishing our regional body. Our leaders have continued to build on this solid foundation to ensure freedom, peace, and economic development of the region. Guided by our strategic documents and the tools at our disposal, including SADC Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan, RISDP 2020 to 2030, and the SADC Vision 2050, we must all join hands and relentlessly carry forward the dreams of the founders. If we cannot place a sharp focus on these and dedicate all our efforts and resources at our disposal, we will fail them. I doubt that is the result we want. I therefore encourage all member states to develop programs and activities to commemorate the Southern Africa Liberation Day on this day every year. Let this day be a constant reminder to us all that the blood of our gallant sons and daughters were not in vain. I thank you.
Let's take a look at our economic news. Trustco Group Holdings announced the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has lifted the suspension on the trading of Trustco shares with immediate effect. Trading of Trustco shares on its secondary markets in Windhoek and New York has also commenced. This follows the publication of Trustco's restated audited annual financial statements for the period ending 31 August 2022 on the 28th of February 2023, with the independent auditors issuing an unmodified audit report. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 18.02 to the US and 19.65 to the euro. It trades at 22.21 to the pound and 2 Namibian dollars and 64 cents buys yuan Chinese yuan. Zinc is up by 0.05% and Brent crude oil is up by 0.59%, trading at $77 and 14 cents per barrel. We'll be taking a look at our international news shortly.
Sport Wrap is a daily show focusing on all sport news and current affairs. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact sportrab@synergy.com.na.
Israel's parliament has passed a new law that will prevent a prime minister from being declared unfit to hold office by the attorney general. It is considered to be in the interest of the incumbent Benjamin Netanyahu, who is on trial on corruption charges. The law is part of his right-wing government's contentious plan to limit the powers of the judiciary, which has led to months of protests. Hours after the vote, opponents began what they called a day of paralysis. Thousands of demonstrators gathered in central Tel Aviv and blocked several major roads. A large Israel flag and a banner with a declaration of independence were also draped over a wall in the old city of Jerusalem. A rally is planned in the evening in the ultra-Orthodox Tel Aviv suburb of Bnei Brak, where there is widespread support for the government. Ahead of the event, protesters set up chairs and tables surrounded by Israeli flags and invited members of the community to meet them for reconciliation talks about the planned law changes. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Thunder showers are expected in Anana at 30 degrees, and a partly sunny weather in Rokana is also at 32 degrees. Partly sunny weather is expected along the coast with a high of 23 degrees in Walvis Bay and 23 degrees in Handys Bay as well. We'll be taking a look at the sports section shortly.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
The vacuum in regional leadership will soon be a thing of the past as Netball Namibia has embarked on a mission to resuscitate its structures. Rebecca Hochasses, Netball Namibia's president, said that the process to ensure good governance and accountability at the regional level is underway. Namibia is among 6 countries that will be competing in the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup qualifier playoff in Windhoek starting from the 26th of March to the 5th of April. Unexpected illnesses have resulted in several Debmarine Namibia Premiership matches being postponed recently, says League Director Mabuas Fries. The majority of cancellations involve struggling sides. Let's take a look at the highlights. Let's take a look at today's highlights. Prime Minister Saraku Kongwela Amadila speaks at the United Nations Water Conference in New York. The conference, formerly known as the 2023 Conference for the Midterm Comprehensive Review of Implementation of the UN Decade for Action on Water for Sustainable Development. The Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress of Namibia, Muhongora Kavihiha, has accused the Namibian government of fostering a modern-day police dictatorship. Unexpected illnesses have resulted in several Debmarine Namibia Premiership matches being postponed, says League Director Mabuas Fries. And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook on all the Animate platforms on weekdays, as well as on our website, OneUpTwo.com. Sunset News screens on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 94 every weekday from 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I am Glenora Shipura, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.